Hello, welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Steve Kleinmann with Moody's Analytics. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Todd James, Chief Data and Technology Officer at 8451. So when you are curating all this data, you're managing many dimensions, I assume. So in the Moody's world, we're B2B, so our dimensions are focused more around the entities, the legal entities, maybe their locations. Um, and so how do you describe the things that you do to, manage your data quality and your governance around the foundational data that ties all of your data together? Like if you have to look at products, that's an immense list of products, and then there's the consumer, the pricing, and all the
Mhm.
stores. What like you must have so many dimensions you're managing. What How do you manage the quality and governance of so much data?
Yeah, I think one, it's something that we're dealing with across all companies and all industries, right? So, what I say here is probably pretty common across organizations. But I'll hit on a few, but then I want to sink in deeper to one, and that's
Mhm.
around the mindset. But obviously, as you're looking at this, you can't do anything without telemetry. My observation is the first thing you need to do is start measuring and tracking the flow of data, understanding where you may be having some challenges. And as I say all the time, there's only one way to get better at something. There's only one way to address a challenge, and that's to lean in and go at it. And I think our teams have done an incredible job with that as they lay the foundation for scale, as they lay the foundation for quality, as they build upon the great capabilities that have been put in place over time. My take though is really, and it goes back. I do view, we're going through, and we talk about a global replatforming. We talk about a techno-industrial revolution. That drives a change in mindset. We all have to think differently about how we approach business, about how we approach technology. And I think the biggest opportunity, right? You get the platforms in place, you can find the data domains, you can have the governance structures, you can have the telemetry and the alerts and the triggering and the self-healing capabilities across your data. All of that is stuff you need to put in place. But at the end of the day, you also need to shift the mindset and make sure that you're bringing the business along with you. And I think our real opportunity as data professionals is to make sure that every time a product owner in technology or a business leader or a associate has anything to do with data or anything to do with a new product or a new technical capability, they're thinking about two things. One, how do I make sure that I am a worthy custodian of the data that I am impacting or influencing, doing the right thing by the data? And two, how am I enriching that data as an asset through the decisions that I'm making? And back to your point, the data being that fourth layer of people, process, technology, it's an asset. How are we all taking accountability, starting with the business for understanding it as an asset, making sure that the decisions that we make along the way are improving that in a way that can help us, once again, create better experiences, make people's lives easier, and drive competitive advantage. And that's why I've been getting really excited within 8451 and Kroger as we go out, is really starting to have those discussions, getting people engaged in the various technology groups, getting people engaged in the business around that understanding, and seeing the impact that it's having along the way. And we've seen some pretty significant impacts in terms of both looking and saying, hey, we could bring in some new data that has a positive impact, or we can, look at a challenge we're having, around data, and really lean in and make sure that we are eliminating. And we've seen places where we have challenges where we're now 100% on the quality. So leading in and having that kind of impact. I don't think that's a story that's specific to 8451. I think that's a story throughout. I do think the mindsets is differentiating across different firms. I think we're all doing the same thing. It's really the mindsets and how we're bringing the business along that I think is going to be differentiating for companies.
Yeah, I think, we're as our data professionals, we consider data a huge asset to the company and our clients. And so we're always in that mindset. We kind of take it for granted that everybody agrees with that, and having
Yep.
having your business owners really buy into what that means when you do take the strategic decisions around where you're spending your time and resources and money, where you need to do some foundational work to make sure your data is in the shape that it needs to be to support all those business decisions moving forward.
And Steve, I think too, and you talk about the foundational work. I mean, foundational work can be done as you're delivering specific value, right? So, I've never seen a business case in any organization I've worked for go forward and say, hey, here's a foundational lift and we're going to put, the field of dreams, build it and they will come. And I don't believe that those kind of business cases should be supported. But I'm always looking, there is always a business need associated, and it's how you go about approaching that I think makes a difference for all of us.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it's cleaning your garage is a good example, right? Nobody wants to do that, but it's super helpful when you do have a nice garage. You can get to things quickly, and it's not full of stuff, so that you can use it more effectively. But when you look at the bigger picture, how uh, companies are really aligning to the business and IT and the data groups, it's really important that we're aligned to having uh, a value out of that. It's not just my garage is clean because it should be clean. It's because there's a actual outcome that we're trying to achieve that we can't achieve without getting that as part of the solution. And
Yep.
so master data is my area, and so it's really been an evolution, right? We always thought that, of course, you should just fix your master data. You can't make clean decisions without it. But at the end of the day, the decisions the business cares most about is what affects the bottom line or the top line the most, and what use cases can you apply this data to make more predictive analytics, or the value added capabilities that data can bring, not just foundational aspects. So I guess when the business doesn't necessarily know what questions to ask about the data, do you guys do some sort of you know laboratory discovery around data to help them, to guide them? Like, what are your strategies around using data science to help uncover unknowns that really could leapfrog your capabilities or your business insights?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, there's several approaches and they're always situational based on the need, right? If it's an idea that's out there and it's not well shaped and well framed, we have 8451 labs, looking over the horizon, looking at emerging capabilities from a science, from a technology perspective, and working with our business partners to understand, what is the realm of the possible, maybe not
Yeah.
immediate, but kind of looking out. So that's kind of the over horizon. I would say, and I think your question probably gets a little more tactically. One of the things that we have is, we have a pretty robust within 8451 group of consultants that work very closely with business partners, both on the commercial side as well as on the Kroger side. And I think that is an incredible asset to us as a way of, enabling the technology teams to be able to, bring ideas, but also do it within the relevance and context of the business.
Mhm.
So I think that's one lever that we have that has been very powerful for us. And those teams, by the way, are embedded. Increasingly, where I see the greatest lift is, the magic here is when data and insights, plus business plus intimacy equals business impact. And one of the things that we've really been pivoting to over, well, I would say, the past 12 months is getting integrated teams and bringing the science and the technology close to the consumer, close to the customer. And I mean, this goes down. I'll give you one example. And I talked a little bit about, optimizing and how we're looking at picking and packing from an e-commerce perspective. When we initiated that effort, I went out to the store, our chief data scientist went out to the store, and we picked, right. We did the men's checks. We went through and we did the work of the store workers. Now here's one thing I learned from that. There is no fallback plan if this role doesn't work out, because I was horrible at that job. So I'm incented to make this work. But you get a real sense for the people that are actually consuming your science, what they have to feel and live. And
Mhm.
then the entire team of data scientists and engineers that are working on that effort went out and went through the same evolution. They went out to the stores, they worked in the store, they had an understanding of what their science, how it would lead to work as they were approaching the problem and what was happening in the store. From there, it
Right.
didn't end, right? We brought in technology people from 8451, from Kroger, business people from the e-commerce space, and put them in a team where they work together. And the beauty is you have the business side getting a better understanding of the science, the technology side, understanding the science and how it deploys on Kroger platforms. Our team's getting a better understanding within 8451 of how science can be deployed to help the business, as well as what some of the how we should design to deploy into Kroger.
Mhm.
And those teams, I think, is where the magic happens more. And I think you hear it across the analyst space. Fusion teams, pods, squads, but how you build those around business intimacy and it is going to be key to speed, is going to be key to relevance as we move forward.
That's a great insight. I think that meeting the customers where they are is so meaningful. You can't do a lot of this over Zoom either. It's,
Yeah.
very important to have that connection with the clients where their problems are occurring, where you can see them firsthand and experience their pains directly. And likewise, you're going to get that opportunity as you work together to help them appreciate where your challenges are to
Yep.
achieve their outcomes, right? So if they're not collecting the right data, maybe they can change some of their processes to help align to make the solution better and the outcomes better. So it's a give and take on both sides.
It is. And I think too, at a very simple level, everything looks good pro forma.
Mm.
Everything is easy in the lab or behind a computer screen. I think the more we can close that distance between science and the consumer, the better off we are. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, if you go into a store today and you see everything that you want on the shelf and you see the inventory, that's not an easy job that
Mm.
Kroger store associates have to be able to make that happen every day. And you get a real appreciation for that. And I think as a result, you can deliver better solutions that get back to my point, make their life easier.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of things are taken for granted.
Yep.
That's a complex ecosystem of connections of uh, you can't even imagine, I'm sure. So you can, but I think the rest of the world pretty much takes it for granted. So, well, I guess we can end it with, sort of what's your most exciting innovation that you might want to talk about on the horizon that our guests might be interested in and should consider, and why?
Yeah, I'll take it from two. I'll take it from where we're working. I think, I gave you the example of pricing and promotion science, the ability to take, unbelievably large combinations of options that are difficult for the, out of 5 to the power of 40, which is best. And being able to use really advanced science to be able to drive that is something that I'm very excited about, and it's right now for us at 8451 in Kroger, and I'm very excited about that. The other thing more broadly that I think is I look and I say, what is going to have probably over the next 5 years the most fundamental impact on business and society from a algorithmic perspective? I think it's a combination, there's a lot of similarities between computer vision and
Mhm.
kind of the text analytics, the machine comprehension, the NLP. And the reason I think it's important is the power of AI really comes down to how do we convert that human judgment decision into a machine prediction problem? How do we change from a situation where we have someone that has to make a judgment call to where they're actually validating
Mhm.
that decision? And I think that is going to enable us to create new business models. It's going to be enable us to create even more simplified and relevant experiences that make people's lives easier. And it's also a science where, if you're not reading something that's 3 months old, you might as well go back and read something that's 20 years old. I mean, it's
Right.
rapidly advancing science, and it touches on our interactions and how we work with products, from voice to text, vision-based search, And so I'm very excited. I think we're starting to see traction in that area. I think it was pretty nascent a few years
Mhm.
ago. But I also don't think across industry and across society we fully come to realize the value of that capability.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that value of the crowd and the amount of unstructured content out there that you can make use of to help, like you said, you might have a basic understanding what you want to choose or make a decision, but then when you have all this additional information, you're pretty much more informed. You're going to make a better decision, and you're kind of or you're validating your gut feeling. But it all starts with data. At the end of the day, uh, the technology can put if they can put it in the right place, the right time, and you can make a decision with it. That's where we want to be, right?
It's funny too. We talk about it. I think the stat was a few years ago, and I could be off in the number, and I forget which analyst firm did it, but I think it was something like 80% of business data is unstructured. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that, but something. But it's interesting as we're talking here, think of all the data that we've created that could be mined through video, through text. I mean, you can do that now, right? You can take and extract data points from this discussion and hit it from multiple angles in a way that you haven't been able to do in the past. So, Steve, I appreciate the opportunity to create data with you today.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Me too. Well, thank you, Todd. This has been a great discussion on using data analytics to gain insights for actionable decision making, how we can adapt better to the changes in the markets for our clients. So I just want to thank you. And for the audience, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews like this. And of course, you can find out more about Moody's and Orbis and 8451 from our websites. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.